All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much again for joining me. My name is Jason Levine, Principal Evangelist for Adobe, and we are coming to you on Adobe Live, Behance, Creative Cloud YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter Periscope. Thank you so much for joining me today for this very special Adobe video live stream series. As I just said about an hour ago, with NEB not happening this year, we wanted to give you something to kind of showcase some of the things we've been working on, some new features, all of which got released today, as well as the ability to allow you to chat with our Adobe employees, product team members, and some incredible customers. And that's what we're going to be doing for this next half hour. So joining me from USA Today, and specifically Just the FAQs, is my new dear friend, soon to be yours. His name is Bob Lindeman. What is happening, Bob?
I'm chilling out. I put on pants today. So,
that wasn't even a requirement. We absolutely don't require that at all. So I appreciate
you anything, man.
Oh yeah, sweet. Thank you. And Bob, it's so awesome to have you here. And I want to remind everyone that, of course, we've got our chats happening in all the various chat clients, and we've got Adobe moderators everywhere. So if you want to be really where the action is, behance.net/Adobe Live or the Premiere Pro Facebook page. I will, of course, be also monitoring all your questions on YouTube, on Twitter, Periscope, and Behance. Now, Bob, I know we're going to talk about Just the FAQs, and we're going to talk about you working remotely. And I know you said to me last week when we were kind of going over this, like, it's almost like you've been preparing for this for the last couple of years because you've been leveraging team projects and doing all of this. And like, it's been so much a part of your daily life for such a long time that like your new normal is the new normal in a way, right?
It really is. It's been kind of amazing, and I have to give a special thank you to all the people at Gannett and USA Today that have just allowed us to experiment and have allowed us to just prove our workflow. There's so many people that have just really been a champion of what we're able to do and how we're able to do it. We started off just, trying to work as a group on one project, and it just wasn't working out. And then I happened to catch a little webcast of you guys launching team projects, and it was just amazing because we were just like, oh my God, this is perfect for what we want to do. And I kind of devised a way that we could kind of break the rules a little bit as far as I'm concerned, and kind of put ourselves out there and just go, okay, we're just diving into, our own kind of workflow. And which was crazy because I at Gannett, one of my coworkers ran downstairs and ran into somebody from Adobe. Wow. Like literally ran into them, and they had a booth, and he was like, you got to talk to Bob because we're doing this crazy stuff. And they were like, yeah, let's talk to him. And so I went down there and gave them a shout out, and they were looking at me like, wait, what are you guys doing? This is crazy.
Right.
And I told them about it, and, long story short,
So without further ado, why don't we let everyone kind of see the stuff that you're creating, just the FAQs. And again, the key, and we're kind of going to get into all the details of this. And this is really, I want everyone to ask questions of Bob, because this is content that you're producing daily, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you are knocking this stuff out. And now you've got this remote team. So I'm going to switch over to my screen. And this is a piece that you did on uranium, I believe. So let's take a look. All right, here we go.
Uranium enrichment. Uranium is a naturally occurring element in the Earth's crust. When mined from the ground, uranium consists of several isotopes. But the two you'll need to know are uranium-238 and uranium-235. U-235 is special because it can sustain a fission chain reaction, or the division of one atom into two, thus releasing heat energy to create power. Naturally, uranium doesn't have a high enough concentration of U-235 to sustain fission. That's where uranium enrichment comes in. The overall goal is to remove unwanted U-238 isotopes from uranium and increase the proportion of U-235. The most common and preferred method to separate the two isotopes involve a centrifuge. The U-235 is converted into powder, pressed into fuel pellets, which are assembled into rods that will then be used for power. Or something with a little more kick. While 12% of the world's electricity is generated by nuclear energy, the same type of technology used for uranium enrichment can lead to weapons of mass destruction.
Super awesome. One of the things I noticed too when I was watching through these, you also do the narration for most of these, don't you?
They let me do that. Can you believe
That's
that?
right. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
so you're the senior editor, you're doing the narration. And one thing that I was going to ask you too, I mean, obviously you're using a lot of kind of stock footage and things, right, to augment. So let's get right into it, because this is, for people who are, again, sort of getting into video or kind of working in various different broadcast environments. I guess one of the first things I was going to ask you is, did you sort of have a journalism background? Because to put stories and media together this quickly, I've got to imagine you studied this in some kind of way to really, hone your craft.
I didn't, and I have the utmost respect for journalism and journalists, but I came from a theater background, and yeah, so
That's excellent.
I
That's
grew
perfect.
up in a small town in Ohio, and I got my start in a little theater that did outdoor dramas. So I was dressing up like a Shawnee and riding horses and stuff like that. So it was great. It was like real outdoor drama. Wild, some of the best times of my life. But
Nice.
so it's just storytelling. I know a lot of people cringe when they're like, "We're storytellers," and they, but it's what it is.
It's what it is. It's what you do. And I it's funny, right, that you're saying, well, it's storytelling, because actually fundamentally, any kind of video, all the things that people are doing from something like this, which was, classified as journalistic, but, even TikTok, you're trying to tell a story, right? There's some kind of beginning, middle, and end. There's a point to it, hopefully, in some cases, most cases. And I would imagine, again, I'm from a music background as well, music production. I did video early on, but really my main thing has been production and engineering for audio. But even there, it's this concept of kind of of a story arc. And I'm just amazed at how quickly you're able to really put all of this together so concisely. Now, let's start kind of fundamentally. What's the first part of your process? And we're actually getting a lot of questions here already about, well, first of all, people are asking, were those animations done in After Effects? And I know you use AE, and I know we've got some slides that we're going to pull up momentarily. So how much of that is After Effects, and how much of that is like stock animations of, in this case, like, atoms exploding and things like that you found?
So first and foremost, scripting. As far as journalism, having an accurate script, having something that's real, we really leverage our network, and we leverage our journalists and our experts, and we find, we reach out to as many people as possible to try and be as accurate and as to actually be accurate and really put the facts out there. I mean, it's part of our name. So scripting is easily the hardest thing that we do. And once we have the script, we try and find, one of the things that makes it Just the Facts is to be able to find one core element inside of our story that needs to be broken down and explained and graphically using After Effects. I have two amazing After Effects artists, Hey Sue and Lindley. Shout out to you guys.
Right.
And,
Nice.
They help us create those things. So once we have the script, they identify, I want to make this, and then we record the voiceover. I record the voiceover in Audition, bring
Nice.
that into, chop it up and put it on the timeline in Premiere. Premiere is basically our central hub. Everything comes from it, and we're using that in a team project. And then just to get right into it, we take adjustment layers and we label the adjustment layers each person's name. And then they know that they're assigned these little tiny chunks of the timeline. So, here's the voiceover right here. And then utilizing the adjustment layers, I think that's the second slide.
Yep.
So then they'll get assigned out. And then we do what I call stacking. So once we gather any element that we can possibly think of. So you listen to the voiceover and you just imagine, I've got some ideas and stuff like that. So we go and we have multiple different sources of stock footage, Adobe stock being one of them. And because we're a news organization, we have other avenues as well as our own,
Sure.
as well as our own stock. So then what we do, once we have the adjustment layers, we do stacking, which is do not use any keyframes, don't resize it, don't do anything. Basically just time it out. Just time out on top of your own sequence.
And are you always targeting a specific length for these? I mean, I notice they kind of vary. I mean, obviously attention spans and things, you're trying to keep them short and punchy.
Yeah, and it's educational, so short and punchy. We want to get to the root of what you want to know as quickly as possible. So around a minute. So and sometimes it's hard to explain something in a minute, so we go to about a minute and 30. So it just varies. Telling you how in the clip that we just watched, telling you how to enrich uranium in about a minute is unbelievable, and it was just a challenge. Just a little while ago in the news, you'd always hear about enriching uranium, and we're like, well, how do you actually do it? So we just wanted to put that out there.
I love it. Video. I mean, and that's kind of the, again, talking about story. And there's this incredible director that we had on Adobe Live actually a couple of years ago, D.W. Watterson, who did a series called That's My DJ. It was a YouTube-based series. And I thought of you over the weekend. I was thinking about this because I was thinking about these kind of productions that are like super polished and put together. And again, you've got all these elements coming together in a day. Her series, the production time was a little longer, but the end result was 1 to 2 to maximum 5. But the initial episodes are generally 1 or 2 minutes long. Episodes of a show, of like an episodic drama, and you're thinking, how could you possibly tell anything? How could there be a story in a minute or 2 minutes? And I imagine there's just an enormous amount of practice and, like you said, just scripting and revising that goes on to make that happen. Do you have a team that helps you kind of do the revisions and work on the copy, or
Oh yeah. Andrea's there. I hope she's watching. Yeah. Hi, Andrea.
Don't be afraid to shout out, Andrea, wherever if you're coming to us on Adobe Live or YouTube, wherever we're watching. Yeah. Okay. So you have all of that review happening simultaneously.
Oh yeah. We have, and we send it out to multiple journalists. We really, really leverage our network. USA Today at this point is one of the largest networks of journalists, and we have so many experts who are just amazing at being able to push us in the right direction, because we get to be, our video team, we love this so much because we get to be experts, in like a week, and really reach out to these people that know how to, tell these stories, because, so once we have so once you start stacking, we use a naming convention to really kind of differentiate sequences from everybody else's sequence. So what we get into is, like, I'll lay down the VO and I'll write, at the end of the sequence name, I'll write _BL01. And then, so then, Lindley Taylor will grab the sequence, and then she'll duplicate the sequence and go LTO2. And then so she'll immediately start stacking all of her items on top of her adjustment layer.
Yep.
And then when she's ready, she just grabs all that content on time of there, and it's already timed out, but it's not like resized, and it's not keyframed, and it's not color corrected or anything. And she basically takes that stuff and then just sends it to After Effects.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So, okay, now I see we've got so here we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. So here's Lindley's breakout in After Effects, and this is what I would expect to see. I mean, right? This is, and again, this is kind of, it looks like horribly intimidating at first, because you're going, all right, I see you've got all of this,
and you can see her adjustment layer in there, right? It's that top red bar, and then she's got all of her audio. So the difference is like, for me as primarily an editor who's okay at After Effects, she's not going to do any stacking. She's just going to take the audio and create everything from scratch in After Effects. Yeah. But because of the adjustment layer, she knows exactly how long her segment is, and because of the audio coming into After Effects, she's able to time out everything accordingly and as she needs to.
Mm-hmm. I've got a couple people asking because, and I get asked this all the time. Is there a particular mic that you use for recording your voiceover? People have already commented they love your narration style, and someone even said, "I would love Bob to lull me to sleep nightly." I don't know if you're taking order. I don't know if you're doing that now as you're working in quarantine, but
it's like $30 a minute, but
30 a minute. Okay, nice. All right, note to all those asking about that. Bob's voice can be yours for $30 a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
But microphone.
We use Shure microphones at work, but as of right now, I'm just using kind of a quarantine mic and a little Zoom setup. So
nothing particularly fancy, not a particular condenser or anything like that.
No, it's not. And shout out to Audition for helping me clean up, some of the podcast presets. Helping me clean up some of the audio and, fixing the loudness and, really evening out everything. And, I'm shut in my little closet doing a voiceover and then I'm bringing it from there on an SD card into my machine. So.
Right. Jim Courtney over on Adobe Live says, "What? No Neumann U47 tube mic?" Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure at a time, that was, well, we know it was more common, but again, kind of in this home podcast world. And you told me that before, like, you go into the closet or something where it's just dark and dampened, right? That's really the key for any voiceover.
Absolutely.
It's got to be dampened so you don't get reflections and things.
Yep.
And then you kind of let Audition do, a lot of the work just to make it even better. And I think what's so amazing about this workflow, dude, when you were telling me about this, again, this is like, this is a major publication. So, the idea that you're not using, $2,000 microphones. And I love telling our users this because that's just the thing. You don't need to anymore. And the sound quality is awesome. You got people saying that right away. But you can achieve this broadcast quality sound with, a little bit of know-how inside the app, like you said, to adjust for loudness and to minimize noise and some of those things that anybody could potentially encounter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now I see we skipped one here. You've got a slide here where you're showing the scoring. So is this about where you're kind of introducing the, is this now, I'm assuming stock audio that you're using for the soundtracks for these?
Yes. Well, we have a partnership with a company that we get all of our music from. And I'm still kind of old school, man. I know that we can bring it back into Audition and
use the remix feature. Is that what you were going to say?
Sure, but I just love editing audio. So I really love getting in there and finding music that really fits with the tone of everything. And I have so many great people working on the timeline that that's the one thing that I have left that I can contribute is the voiceover and the music. Every single time. So,
nice.
and they're nice enough to let me, so they haven't been like, "Oh, this is terrible."
Right.
So, I'll get out of the way. Man.
Right.
If it's going to be better than what I can do, I'll get out of the way. But,
well, and again, Bob, this kind of speaks to, this idea that, obviously each of you is wearing multiple hats, but kind of as the lead producer, I guess, of this, you're wearing those multiple hats and you're wearing them because really it's a bit of know-how, it's a bit of passion, but also it's just the most effective way to put all this together, right? I mean, you could, I imagine, have someone else just handle the audio, the music, the remastering or whatnot in Audition, but you've kind of just got it down, I imagine, to a science just to kind of knock these things out. So a couple people were just asking, what's usually the time frame duration? I mean, I imagine it varies a bit, but what would you say is the production time for one of these?
This is the really fun part. If we're under a crunch, we can get this out the door once the script is made in 4 hours.
Wow. Like
right?
from voiceover to stacking to After Effects to audio to everything, 4 hours out the door.
Mm-hmm. So, that's 6 people, like around 6 people working in conjunction, and we can start to finish 4 hours. I would bet you that we've beat that. I think the other day we got that out the door faster than that, but we don't like to. Like, we realized when we started this process, we were making 5-minute long just the facts, and we quickly realized that we needed to kind of pare it down and not explain so much. there's so many other people out, there's a huge field of people really making explainers, but to differentiate ourselves, we were like, oh, we need to really tighten this down, and we really need to, just batten it down. And we were like, okay, this is what we can do. And once we started doing that, we just kind of hit our stride and really just started cranking them out. And sometimes we'll have like a quick turn, somebody will pitch something. We have like 2 morning meetings every day with the newsroom, and people are constantly like, here's this idea. And it's like, what differentiates our Just the Facts to another kind of video. So
right. Now, you mentioned having sort of meetings with the newsroom. So are there times where maybe you already have a concept for like I guess what I'm asking is, do you have the topics laid out for the week, or is it every given day you don't know necessarily what you're going to be doing? Like maybe you thought you were going to be doing COVID or something, but they're like, no, today we're going to do Bitcoin or something like that because something happened.
It does come down like that. Wow. Usually right now we have kind of a different, because of what's going on in the world right now, we have kind of a different workflow with the larger team. But yeah, it can definitely come down, to where somebody's like, this is trending, we need to get something out like right now, and we have to jump on it. We have to stop what we're doing. Just today, actually, we got stopped down, and we switched gears, and we're starting to work on something else, which means that we already have one almost partially in the can. So we're really happy about that. That's, we worked really hard today so we can not have to grind tomorrow.
Grind tomorrow. But again, now, so I imagine if you haven't done it already, like you'll be hitting a voiceover, you'll be reading some copy shortly after we adjourn the session here today.
Probably.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing. All right. So let's go back to your screen here. So, so we've got the music, we've got our stacking here, and then you have kind of managing the incoming graphics when you're back in Premiere.
Yes. So every single one of us are dealing with some kind of a Band-Aid, right? I don't have an iMac. I don't have a souped up computer that's willing to, just crank out renders or anything like that. So every single one of us has learned how to do something on the back end or some workaround to something that we need to do. My company is all journalists, so they give us laptops. We're always working on laptops. Every single one of us is working on a laptop. So we've found that the render times with the laptops are, let's just say, less desirable. So what we've learned to do is then once we go from a team project into After Effects is we're just going to render it directly out from After Effects and then, change the codec and then drop it back in the Creative Cloud and then bring it back into Premiere. Right. That saves us render time on the back end, and it helps with our archival process.
And I was just going to ask you that because someone just asked. So what about codecs? So what are you working in, or when you're rendering out of After Effects? And imagine you're doing that so you're not having to deal with like dynamic links and other things. What's the format that you're typically working in?
H.264.
H.264.
Yep. Everything's so short that the machine is fine with it.
Right. And it's all 1080p, I imagine. So you're probably doing an 8 or 10 megabit H.264 or maybe even higher.
Yeah. I believe it's 10.
Okay.
But I mean, it's our Creative Cloud folder usually doesn't get bigger than 5 to 10 gigabytes. So because we're bringing in stock and we're making most of whatever we're creating, it's the footprint is very, very small. So that's one of the advantages that we have. We do work on projects where we're connected to each of us has like another drive that we're working off of for our longer form projects, and then where somebody will be connected to a NAS or something like that. We definitely have been utilizing that component, but for Just the Facts, for these small quick turn videos, like this just works super, super well. So we go to After Effects, we export it, we bring it up, and if anybody, let's say like that the graphic that you've just landed on, like that needs a fix, we need 5 of those elements instead of just 4. They can just Lindley will just re-export and re-export from After Effects and then just replace the file, and then it ripples through every single sequence that we have. So it's beautiful in that sense that you don't have to go back through and be like, oh my God, I've already made like 4 different versions. I've got the Facebook, the YouTube, for our platform, for everything else, they just all dynamically change because they've reconnected to the final file that is, doesn't necessarily have to be in the same file path. It's just finding it. So it's really brilliant in that sense. And yep.
This is actually something that Carl was just talking about, and you just illustrated it perfectly, right? So again, you're kind of in this team environment. You're using this shared stuff, and someone part of your team makes that change. You're not having to do the manual process of changing the instance everywhere this exists. So just on that, so someone came in with a question. So obviously this appears on the web, but I imagine there's a social presence. Do you have to create social versions of this, like in different size? And I know we're coming to the publish sequence. Maybe it's time to go to that one.
We do. We make these vertical. We make these. So we make vertical right now, like on Facebook. If you watch Just the Facts, we have an extra quote deeper dive. We call it the Just the Facts deeper dive. So we have another journalist doing a deeper dive on the back end of one of our Just the Facts. Right. So we have the Facebook version. The YouTube version has like the YouTube in screen. We have vertical version for IGTV. And what am I forgetting? And platform, for our platform, we burn in captions. So you'll see captions, and you see like this is the final sequence. So the only actual footage that we have in is just some still shots on the back end of the sequence there. Yeah. So everything else has been brought back in to our timeline. So all of those are So, and those are captions up there.
Yeah, you've got your SRT file imported right here. Okay, so legit captions happening. Are you creating those externally or doing those?
We are lucky enough to have somebody doing them externally.
Nice. So yet someone else kind of in that production pipeline, because captioning. So it's interesting. So now you're saying for the online stuff on USA Today, of course, you're adding captions. Are you also captioning the social videos?
Yep. A lot of them we're allowed to use or we have the ability to use a sidecar file. So but you have journalists, so we have to have them all of our captions have to come in, and then they have to be checked and double checked, and before we can put them into our sequence. So. And our copy edit team is amazing, and they jump on whatever we throw at them. So it's a team effort all the way around. There's 6 of us working in any given timeline, but there's a humongous team through Gannett and through USA Today on the outside of that. So,
I mean, I think what's just kind of amazing to me is thinking about all this. And again, you think about any production, but especially delivering something. By the way, people are still going 4 hours. Holy smokes. Like, I can't believe that. Not that that's your everyday scenario, right?
No.
That's, but you've done it. And I imagine, you're usually within some kind of a grind to get these things out. I know I asked you about, does the topic change? Does it ever come down to where you do something? How much, so you get to this stage, how much like post review is there once it's all cut together?
It has to be seniored by 2 people. So me being one of them, and I'm.
Oh wow! So you're editor, director, and decider. That's very nice. Nice. That's a good gig.
I mean, I'm really lucky that I tend to see the larger picture, and I'm guilty of not seeing like typos in text. I'm miserable at that, and so my senior producer Stacy Mello and Andrea Kramer, they see so many things that I don't see, so I'm very grateful for them. We have a checks and balances system that is pretty tight, and we have to be just to make sure that what goes out is real. So so a lot of the times the content definitely won't change, but we want to make sure that we're as accurate as possible with everything that we put out there. So that's the review process is basically putting it up online, and people have the option to just go like, hey, it's great, this is perfect. keep going. So, yep.
So we've got Ben Blair over on YouTube asking how much of what you're doing is pre-established MOGRTs or motion graphics templates or other templates that you just drop in for everything. So maybe not even MOGRTs, but do you have a lot of the graphics and things templatized? I imagine it's probably maybe some, but it's so unique to each topic.
Yeah.
You're kind of in a unique situation there.
We started off with a template that was given to us, and Lindley is just tremendously fast. I've never seen somebody work in After Effects as fast as Lindley Taylor does. And she basically just cranks out everything fresh, like every single time. So she has her own little library of stuff that she pulls from, but she does for our larger team on the side. She'll just create a bunch of MOGRTs for other aspects or other parts of our team. So our larger team is like, we're special projects and franchises, which includes sports, which includes entertainment. We have a lot of good series, a lot of good franchises out there. So
makes sense. Mm-hmm. So now Chris Maddle is asking, in between sections, is it always a hard cut, or do you go through and bridge each section together for the final product?
So that's the beauty of being able to see what everybody else is doing. And when we were able to utilize team projects in After Effects, I can actually see where yours ends and where mine begins. That sounds deeper than it is, so we're able to kind of see that, and we choose. Thanks, Chris Maddle. That's a great question. Yeah. We get to choose a color palette. My coworker Walbert, he's recently left us, but he established the fact that we should have a color palette that we're all working from. So we're thematically creating, this, consistent quality and something that's visually like is seamless, and you can't tell, one person edited that, one person edited that. So
right. And that's, what's really kind of amazing too is, again, I mean, when you watch these things, and we've got time to maybe watch another one here, again, there's nothing about it that feels rushed. I think something that we tend to see a lot, particularly not even, I mean, again, you're coming from this kind of journalism side of content delivery, but it's content delivery, right? It doesn't really matter with the origin. And you tend to see things that are kind of put out quickly. They feel like it almost feels rushed. There's a very laid back nature to this, even though your voiceover is cooking through it, but it still has this very sort of put together feeling.
It's because one artist gets to spend, that 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever on 15 seconds. It's because we're able to break it down. It doesn't feel like, we missed, your section's a little longer. It's like you only have 15 seconds. So you really have time to play and learn. And if you don't know something, you have the opportunity to go and find that. Or, if you're, when we're working together in an office, you turn around and go like, oh my God, how do I do this? Or, so we're constantly learning. That's the one thing that my group is always so good at. We're constantly pushing ourselves and constantly learning. And really trying to, push ourselves every single time, do something new.
I think that's a super important point to make, and I love that you said it. And you are constantly full of marketing nuggets of sound bites. So I know, I don't know if it's just where you work, but you just have those without even trying. Constantly learning, right? I mean, and that's something which you're seeing everybody talking about this now, kind of in our sheltered in place states around the world. But beyond that, before that, outside of that, I think, especially for something like this, you have to be willing to like try, fail, right? I imagine there's probably some times where you're like, maybe we could do this a little bit differently. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. There's always a bit of that learning process going on when you're creating like super fast content updated every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So I thought maybe we take an opportunity here to show another one of these just because they're just so tight and punchy and awesome. This one is around vaccines. Now you were saying this one had, so what's like the typical views that if you're allowed to communicate that, I don't know. But you said this one in particular was like significantly high.
each one of these pieces gets about 6 million views on all of our different platforms, because it's going all over the place. We have OTT and we have multiple different platforms. So each one of them in its own right gets about 6 million views.
Wow. That's amazing. And that's like daily. You're seeing that coming. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so why don't we? I'm gonna go switch over here, now we can watch it. We're in the corners there, so let's go ahead and take a look at this one. All right, here we go.
As the coronavirus continues to spread across the globe, the pressure is on for drug makers to develop a vaccine and bring it to market quickly. Vaccines are preventative medicines. They help reduce the risk of catching certain illnesses. They do this by imitating infections. They introduce dead or weakened versions of the disease-causing germs, known as antigens, into the immune system. When the immune system detects these foreign invaders, they create antibodies to attack them. And because our immune system is like a library, it stores information and remembers every germ it's ever defeated. So, if we encounter the real germ in the future, our immune system can quickly trigger the memory cells and produce antibodies to defeat it. Unfortunately, it takes quite a bit of time to develop, license, and release a new vaccine, ranging from several months to over 10 years. Once vaccines are developed in the lab, they must go through 3 phases before they come to market. First, small groups receive the trial vaccine. Then it's given to a larger group of people. And finally, it's tested on hundreds of thousands of people. Some experts say there's a 94% failure rate in developing a new vaccine from the discovery phase to licensing. The Food and Drug Administration will license it only if it's proven to be safe and effective, and if the benefits outweigh the risks. But the vaccine might not be worth the effort. Many viruses mutate, so a vaccine that works one year might be less effective or not work at all the next. Today, there's no working vaccine for HIV, malaria, or tuberculosis. So these diseases continue to kill millions around the world each year. But vaccines have led to the eradication of smallpox, a drastic reduction in polio, and progress towards eliminating tetanus. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.
Love it, man. So all with the social call outs and all. You know?
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, because again, this is some of the things where I'm looking and I'm thinking, you put this together so quickly. So like these graphics, are these surely like Lindley's making these? I mean, or did you find stock footage that had like some kind of template or something similar to this?
No, this is all Lindley.
Yeah, I mean, and made so quickly.
Yes.
So quickly.
Yeah.
It's super impressive. Now, I loved this. Kind of reminded me slightly Monty Python-esque, you know,
right?
This one. But this is also now. Was this also done like you guys did this, or was this a stock piece right here?
Yeah, no. This is she'll find hands and I don't know how her brain works. I'm sure she wouldn't be willing to give up her sources.
That's right. Oh yeah, no, fair enough. Absolutely. Got to have some special sauce in there.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it really. This one in particular, it just beautifully, and everyone, by the way, people are saying just, great MoGraph, high production value, awesome. Thank you, Bernadette, Jim, Kevin, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think what's kind of just amazing about it is, again, the quality level is so high.
Thank you.
And, just the production value is so high. But as you're talking about it, it's almost done casually. In fact, you just sort of have to get into that rhythm where everybody knows the role. There's some overlap, but this is how you deliver something that resonates, right? It doesn't have to be a polished film per se, although it appears that way. You're making it look very easy, easier than it is. So we've just got about 2 more minutes here. So one last thing I wanted to ask you. So again, you create these daily, you publish them daily. So how many of these are you actually producing a year? I mean, I got to imagine there's some downtime to when you're not doing these. Regularly.
Right now we're not in a daily grind.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we have a Just the Facts live that just started 9 minutes ago on Facebook. It's like a coronavirus conversation piece, and then where some of our team is utilized to create on-demand versions of those. So how many have we done? We've been doing them for about 2 years, and so we've hit over 200 of them at some point.
Okay.
We're averaging about a half of one per day on a normal schedule. So because the scripting process and because the, checks and balances. So, if we definitely can be, if we doubled our team, we could be cranking out a whole bunch more, but, that's not up to me, I guess, it's a long, yeah.
Yes, so, it could fall in your lap, I imagine. Hey, you need to produce twice as many.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We need more of a team.
We'd love to. If we were given that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, so many funny comments in here. Lindley needs a raise. Love that. Okay, so a couple questions here. Some people are asking, and again, I think this is kind of back to the Mogrid idea, and I want to go into this because, of course, we have a huge design contingent watching these broadcasts on all the various platforms. And so for things like, the Just the Facts logo, the brand colors, is this stuff that I imagine are you using CC libraries for this where you're not having to think about color, font, size, position, whatever stylized look of the logo and things. Are these assets that are, part of the overall USA Today organization that you just access regularly from a shared environment somewhere?
We had a whole, when this was conceptualized and brought to us, this franchise, we had a whole template built out for us. That was an After Effects project that we could dip into and dip out of. Awesome. And basically the holdover from that was given to us over 2 years ago is the logo. Okay. So that is the only element that was given to us, but that was created by the larger graphics team at USA Today.
Okay, yeah. So it kind of still has that same feel and look, and again, the color scheme and everything. Because this is something that, as we kind of talk more and more about collaborating, I would imagine if you had to start bringing in other people, that's the first thing is they're like, well, do I need to recreate that? I kind of, maybe I know what that font is, but do I have to try and match colors? And obviously to be on brand, you still have to be mindful of all those things when you're publishing this, right? Because it's representing a much larger entity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Bob, I got to tell you, man, it was such a pleasure to have you. And
Thank you.
I loved chatting with you. Now I'm thinking, what would it have been like if you were on stage without talking to you? I've enjoyed it so much. Again, everyone, you can check out Bob's work on USA Today, Just the Facts. You can check out these videos. They're beautiful. His voice is very soothing. It's an amazing use. Now that you know this process, think about producing these 1-2 minute videos.
Oh, man.
Daily. I mean, I think it was so inspirational to hear your story and to check all of this out. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to tell all of our viewers, again, across YouTube, Facebook, Adobe Live, Behance, and Twitter Periscope, thank you again. We will be back tomorrow with more, beginning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, with my colleague Dacia, and then we'll be back in the afternoon with some more amazing customer stories. If you've got questions, again, we can keep the conversations going on Twitter and on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.